Hello everyone, and welcome to Tokens and Heft. I'm Lincoln, and this week we are taking a look at Superfight, the card game that will cost you all of your friendships. I haven't played enough games for that to happen yet, but I can see how that's the slogan. I also have a couple expansion decks to go over as well. Superfight is kind of like Cards Against Humanity, only not really at all. Part of the reason I like this is because the graphical design is a lot like Cards Against Humanity. Rules are a nice simple little sheet. Half of it's like alternates. If I still have it. Aha. And because a few little things have been tweaked when I bought the game, this came with it as well. These are just some, a few clarifications and things that weren't in the original rule book. And a little help with how to customize. Hold on a sec. Let's get some cards out. I'm going to do a quick jump cut and we'll get to having the cards out and I'll tell you how to play. And here we have the game set up and ready to go. You have a pile of white cards. And these are all people and characters. Oh, there's Heisenberg, for one. And these two black piles, you can keep them as one black pile. They're both identical sets of cards. There's nothing different about either of them. I just keep two sets because they're less likely to fall over than if they were in the tall stack. And you'll need to draw two of those every round for the villain everyone's fighting, so it's just a little bit easier to have that out. At the start of the game, every character or every person is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black cards and 1, 2, 3 white cards. And then, once that's all set up, whoever's turn it is, whoever's going to be the judge for this round, flip over randomly a white card and 2 black ones. This is why I have 2 stacks here. Just makes that easier for setup. So, we have... Hold on a sec. I'll get a better shot for you guys. We have a firefighter armed with a chainsaw, and everything they touch turns to hummus. Which makes that chainsaw a little confusing. I don't know how that's going to work out. Maybe it's part of him? I don't know. You know, if it was part of him, then it wouldn't be turned to hummus. You know, if it was like Ash's chainsaw arm or something. But the chainsaw would then turn other things into hummus as you cut through them, making it easier to chainsaw through them. So that's pretty devastating. And he's a firefighter, so he's going to be brave. He's going to be courageous. He's going to have a lot of willpower. And this discussion I'm having now would happen even if I were playing a real game. You know, this comes up and everyone's sitting there trying to figure out who are they going to fight this guy with. Who do I have in my hand? I've got a gorilla, an eccentric chocolate factory owner, and a hipster. What you're going to do... Oh, we also have... I'll go over the attributes real quick. I also have really has to pee, floating down on a parachute, play an extra attribute from the top of the deck, which is weird because this card kind of just gets... It just means you're going to get a random one. Same thing with that, and shoots laughing gas. Now, here's where the way I play and the way the game standard, the standard way to play diverge a little bit. Now, in the standard way to play, everyone would place a white card and... Give this a shot. They would play a white card and a black card. The standard rules now would say that whoever is the judge, at this point, calls out right or left. And then everyone looks at their hand and takes one of the attributes, probably one they don't really like, and plays that on the person to the right or left, whatever direction the judge chose. So that's how you can get rid of things like cards that don't seem like they're that good, like really has to pee. These play an extra attribute from the top of the deck. That could really screw someone over, or it could really help them out. You never really know what you're going to get. Now, the way I've been running the game, just to keep the animosity down a little bit, and it is one of the variants they suggest, is that after everyone's got their one white and one black card down, everybody just draws a black card from the deck, and you never know what it's going to be. So once everyone's got their 3 cards set up, then we can all reveal them and start arguing. So I went with the gorilla that shoots laughing gas, and the random card I got was, has one tiny baby arm. It's in the deck. It's real. It's there. And I really don't know what to tell you from this point, because this is where arguing starts. Or discussion, debate, if you don't want to call it straight up arguing. But now, everyone gets to plead their case to the judge. There's no real rules for it. It's kind of just a free-for-all about, hey, wait a minute, what about this thing? But wait, if your guy can do that, then he can't do this. Like, oh, but wait a minute, I've got this. You forgot I could do that and that. And it's just a really great little, like, debate that comes up. Sometimes I finally got to play a couple rounds of this past weekend, and I mean, my one friend, he just, like, once he saw everything out there, he was like, oh, you know what, I'm out. I don't stand a chance against this. And yet I think he won that one. It's happened before. It's a real fun game. You end up with some really strange stuff out here. Like, oh. After everyone's, let me continue with the rules before I get into anything else. Once everything's been looked at, and once the judge makes their decision, the winner gets to keep the white card, and everything else gets put in discard. And then you draw back up so that you have 3 white cards and 5 black cards. And that's the way a round of the game works. And then someone would get this firefighter card, and that's their point. So you can see it's very similar to Cards Against Humanity. That's one of the reasons I picked it up. There are a few other games out now. I think Incredibrawl is one of them, where it's kind of just like fictitious matchups, like, oh no, it's Jason Voorhees versus the Terminator, and things like that. I'm really not a fan of those. They have... When you're playing this kind of game, I'm playing it in an environment with a lot of people who don't play a lot of games. You know, I want it to be as simple as possible, because otherwise everyone's going to lose interest and it's just going to fall apart, and then no one has fun and it was a dumb thing that happened. So, since everyone I play these games with, every party I go to, everyone loves Cards Against Humanity. It's a ton of fun. It's one of the big reasons I went with this, is because the cards are pretty much the same. You have the same kind of look, the same kind of basic, clean style. There's nothing to distract you. Everything's nice and simple. And that leaves you a lot more room to imagine things and really concentrate on, well, what can my guy do? You've just got a name, or you've got a noun, a person, and then you've got 2 vague attributes. Well, maybe they're not so vague, but without anything else on the cards, it leaves their imagination room to wander. You're not locked down in anyone else's idea of what a thing is. It's all on you. And I really like that. I also really like that this game has expansions. There are a bunch of expansions. I only purchased 3. So far I have the location deck, the scenario deck, which is very interesting, and then I got the geek deck. The geek deck is just, hold on, is just some white and black cards that you can mix in with your regular game if you're playing with people who are pretty nerdy and understand a lot of these things. Hold on a sec, and then there's some sort of fancy little card on here's how to incorporate things. So you get a chunk of white cards and a chunk of black cards. The only reason they're not mixed into my deck now is because, well, at parties, I don't know if there's enough people there to get all of the stuff in here. And the other reason is they don't fit in the box. I'd have to resort everything before packing it up. Not a big deal, I don't really care, but the Superfight box isn't going to hold all of this stuff. So, The black cards. Let's start with the white cards, actually. Let's go through some of the white cards for the Geek deck. There's a Barbarian, Medusa, a Dwarf, an Elf, Kraken, Leroy Jenkins, Goblin, Wolf, Centaur, Ripley, Bowser, Leonardo, Wolverine, Titan, Mercury, a Liger, Ranger, Creeper, Neo. No, this I'm confused on. I need to look it up. Predator, not that kind. Which kind isn't it? There's a LARPer, a Dungeon Master, pick a sci-fi or fantasy character, Pyro. So, it's not the most fantastic thing, but I kind of like the modularity of this, because the base set I can play with most any group of people. They're gonna get it. They're not gonna really have a lot of questions on what this card is or what it means. Who is that person? This deck would require some explaining with a lot of people. Maybe not your regular game group, but, you know, with like maybe some family members, if you have a more traditional, normal kind of family. And then over here, the attributes, and you'll notice they're all in orange. Like the text on all these is orange, and they have the little Geek deck symbol at the bottom of the deck. And that's how you keep track of them. These guys are nice because the whole back is, or the whole face is orange with white text, and I really like that. So here's your attributes. It's a steam-powered robot, is a level 90, armed with a master sword, armed with a warhammer, in a mech, is a Stark, is wearing diamond armor, on a recumbent bicycle, 42, riding a speeder bike, dying of dysentery, can just ask a giant eagle to clean this mess up anytime. So this, you'll see, a little more so even than the person deck. The character deck, I think is what it's supposed to be called. The character deck, yeah, there's a lot of people who, you might not know this character or that character, but that can happen in the normal deck. A lot of them are fairly standard things you've heard about in culture throughout your life. These attributes, some of these are going to be confusing, and some of these you're really going to need to know what's up. I know the Omega 13's in here somewhere, for one. And there are a lot of people who aren't going to know what the heck that means. So that is the Geek deck. It's a fun little add-on for those of you who are nerdly inclined. That was fun to say, nerdly inclined. Let's put some of this off to the side. Now here is something I have been using so far, and that I'm going to use I kind of want to use in pretty much every game. Hold on a sec, I'm going to readjust things. So we have the scenario deck and the location deck. The location deck is just that. It's locations where the fight is happening. Oh, and something I want to mention is it's not all of the players versus the judge. It's when you're the judge, you consider each matchup individually. It's a one-on-one battle each time. Of course, there's lovely blank cards in every one of these sets. Let's put these off to the side. Now we have the location deck. Things like a thrift store, an amusement park, on a conveyor belt leading to spinning blades. On a moving bullet train, a giant bounce house, a comic book convention, a gun store, the 90s. So these are the locations. These are where the battle will be happening. And I also love playing with these guys, the scenario deck. Let's get the blanks out. Cool. And here, some of these are tricky, and I try and skip over them for the first game. Like, all players draw and play 2 new attributes from the deck. That kind of stinks. That was our very first card last game. We skipped past it. I'm like, you guys have never played this before. We're gonna go past that one. In Pitch Black, winner chosen by Slam Poetry Battle. Yeah, 5 minutes until area is napalmed. It's raining fire. Draw and play 3 scenarios. Oh, wow. I hadn't seen that card yet. That's going to be fun. All electronic devices must be turned off. So these are little ways to shake up the battle and make it a little more fun. And I really, really highly recommend those two. A lot of the other expansions for this game are like the Geek Deck. The Geek Deck has a bunch of are just black and white cards with a theme, you know? They also have, like, I don't know if it's the kids deck or the child's deck, but that's more, it's a little more fantasy and fairy tale focused, really. You have a lot of stuff you're going to hear that you would know from if you were a kid and you watched Disney movies and things of that nature. Trying to remember. I think there's two other decks. I can't remember what the one is. And one is the red deck. The red deck is the, I don't want to say filthy deck, but it's the deck that's going to have swear words and some like nastier stuff in it. More or less, you could think of it like it's the deck that adds some more Cards Against Humanity style stuff to this. And it's kind of nice that that's modular because one thing, I cannot believe people play Cards Against Humanity with their families, like grandparents and stuff. I do not want to explain half of those cards to any of my family members, ever. And these people play with them. I could never do it. This, however, you know, all those cards are in their own deck that I can throw in, that I can pick up at some point. I can throw that into the game when I'm with the right people. But say I'm with the family, boom, I can just break out the basic deck. No big deal. Now, back to these two. There's not a whole lot else to go over. I just draw one of each when we do the when we set up the initial matchup. So, Street Fighter, that is 100 stories tall and is unaffected by impact. You will be fighting in an ocean of gelatin, which was the first one we did last time, and the fighters swap sizes. I did not shuffle since I put everything away. That was our very first thing last time, which was great because, well, these three are different. But these two are exactly the same as the first game we played this weekend, which was fun because I had I had Tim Allen, or Tim the Toolman Taylor. Because it said pick a TV character, I didn't want to take too long, so I just went with the first guy I had. So I had Tim the Toolman Taylor. He was a germaphobe, and the bottom half of him was a Men in Black. And they were fighting in an ocean of gelatin and swapping sizes. I believe my buddy who won was a Girl Scout who could move through solid matter. Which, you know, he won. For one, this girl and this adult male are now swapping sizes. Plus, she can get through this gelatin no problem. So that's how he ended up winning that fight. Hold on. Let me shuffle these up. We'll do another draw. I mean, that's the best way really to show this game off without playing it, is to just do a couple random draws and see what you end up with. So let's put these guys back away. Next round. Kramer. Can clone self, but each clone is half as smart as the previous. Made of cheese. So Kramer, I'm assuming the one from Seinfeld. He can clone himself, but each clone is half as smart as the previous clone, and he is made of cheese. You'll be fighting in an office building, and there are no weapons allowed. That's pretty interesting. Especially if you have a guy who, your whole thing was the fact that your guy was armed with a chainsaw. Because now that's just completely been nullified, and you're going on raw power here. Fisticuffs, as it were. And then you can argue even more, because I'm thinking, you're in an office building, no weapons allowed. Does that mean I can't set traps? It's a game that, so much fun discussion. You have to play with the right group of people that can get this kind of thing, but it's great. Another random draw. It's a boy band, in a fighter jet, and they can control hair. Notice it doesn't say their hair or other people's hair, just hair in general. Like they're a hairbender. They're fighting in a giant bounce house. All players draw and play a new attribute from the deck. Which is crazy. Because I don't think, that doesn't say to replace anything. So then I think our boy band in a fighter jet that can control hair also throws ninja stars. And everybody else would now pick another black card, and that shouldn't be there at all. But they'll pick another black card. Now they'll have 3 attributes. That's nuts. This card was somehow got mixed in with the others. Raining Giant Spaghetti and Meatballs. I think that's a fun one. Yeah, so aside from just continually doing these random draws and seeing what kind of funny stuff comes up, don't really have a lot else to explain. This game is really fun. I really enjoyed it. The games we played this weekend were fantastic. I can't wait to bust it out again at the party I'm going to this weekend. It's going to be fun because Cards Against Humanity is fun, but a lot of Cards Against Humanity it's straight up, a lot of the time it's humor and shock value is a lot of it. And I'm not downing on that. I think it's a great game. I love it. I own, here, just to prove that, I own the bigger, blacker box. So I am not downing on Cards Against Humanity in any way. But this is going to be fun with a lot of the people I play this stuff with, because now we get to argue. We get to state your case. You get to make a point as to why you think you deserve to win. And that's going to be real fun. I think the games aren't going to go as quick because of that, but it's still going to be really interesting and neat. Well, guys, that's all I've got to say. Again, this is a game I definitely recommend. It's a ton of fun. It's a really neat little premise, and I hope they keep coming out with more expansions over time. Because it'll just be nice to add more stuff to this. You know, this, much like Cards Against Humanity, is a game where the more options, the better. So, I've been Lincoln for Tokens and Heft. This has been Superfight. I will see you guys next time.